Darren, man, it's always a pleasure to see you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the film. Mother is the film. It's always an event to see what you've got cooking in your manic, insane, awesome brain, and this one is no different. What do you want people to know going into this one? Because there's a lot. The marketing has been interesting, and I was just telling you I went in trying to know as little as possible, but
I think it works on different levels for different people. It's hard to tell. There's a lot of spoilers out there, and that's okay. I don't think this is a type of film that can be spoiled. You know, a pet peeve for me is like, because I'm very gullible in movies, and when I'm with someone, they lean over and they go, "Hey, this is what's going to happen," and I'm just like, "Oh," and it always there's no way it actually can be ruined for you, Mother.
No, truly.
So, and I kind of like the mystery of going in blind, not exactly knowing what it is, thinking it's one type of movie, and then it really does shift into another type of movie, and it shifts into another type of movie. So it's very mysterious. It's like a fun house. It's but like a fun house built on a roller coaster and smashing into a wall. So if you're up for a punk rock kind of crazy experience, you got no club nights this week, please come see the movie.
Talk to me a little bit about the interpretations that have already started to come out, and there are many different versions of it.
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk a little bit about sort of like what your take is to an extent on what it's all supposed to add up to. And again, I don't want you to like explicate that for the audience right now, but like, are you open to different interpretations? Do you find that's a cool aspect of it, or are you?
I mean, I think all work I admire has lots of different interpretations. I think that's the exciting part is conversation. We forget that, cinema doesn't have to be like disposable 2 hours that you just throw out. In today's world, people are like, right now, they're probably on 2 or 3 different screens.
Right.
And you wanted to make something that was going to try to capture people's attention. This really comes at you full force. And if you're game for that, that's cool. And then what you take away from it is many different things, but all the different ideas that are sort of emerging were all ideas we were playing with, and that's cool.
Jennifer, as a leading actress in this, obviously is willing to go to some intense places, as she has to for this kind of a role. Is there anything that she blanched at, said no to, said this is going a little too far?
Oh no, Jennifer Lawrence is just incredibly brave and bold and trusting, and she just sort of swan dived into the movie.
Is there, at what point were you made aware of the Kardashian Tent, and what was your reaction?
I stuck my head in it, to be honest, just for a second. The smell of candles, I was like, later. But, whatever she needed to calm down. I don't really think she ever used it, but I think having her know that there was a safe space was very cool. Whatever it takes for an actor to go as far as they can, that's the goal. And Jennifer Lawrence in Mother goes further than she's ever gone. She shows the depth of a talent like she hasn't shown before. And it was an amazing thing to behold, and everyone's going to get to see it when they see the film.
Does Javier have an equivalent corollary for a Kardashian Tent?
Javier is very, he's very analytical.
Right.
And he has to think really hard about how everything works together. But then he can only act if it's completely real. It's got to be real for him. So once he gets it, and once he's worked through every direction, and he understands it, it just explodes out of him, and he's a volcano of an actor.
I mean, that's interesting you say that, because again, without ruining some stuff, like there are allegorical elements to what you're doing here. Yeah. But you're saying like he has to kind of like play the reality, and I would think for the actors, like even if it's working on another level for an audience, they have to play the reality of that moment for these characters.
Absolutely. There is no way to play symbols. You have to play a real person, and they are real people. They are a husband and wife. There's an inequality of what each other want, and it's kind of the nightmare of a breakup, which is also could be something to make a scary film about. So there was that kind of line that goes through it, that a lot of people are just seeing the film on that. They're just seeing that this is, a nightmare version of a breakup, which is really interesting for people. But then it also really ties into this larger allegory that we were sort of leaning into as well. So it's kind of cool because it makes this richness that people may not completely understand at the beginning, but they'll feel it. And then as soon as they start talking, people just eyes light up, and it's kind of a cool moment. So it's a different experience at the cinema. It's not like superhero number one is going to fight bad guy number one,
Right.
but they're going to have to fight one more time, in 45 minutes, and there's going to be that many more explosions. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're trying to create a different experience for people at the cinema.
Yeah, I've seen thousands of movies in the cinema. I've never seen something like this, and I've never seen something where I didn't know where it was going from moment to moment.
That's
truly.
great. That's great. I mean, that's to me, like, that's it. Like, when you get so caught up in something, I mean, there's different types of movies. Sometimes, you're just in the mood for something that takes you on a very familiar trip.
Yeah, it's comfort food.
Yeah, it's comfort food, and you're just like, I'm going to go for it and have a great experience. 3 hours later, you may not quite remember what you saw.
Right.
I promise you will be talking about this tomorrow. And you may come out of the theater being really shook up and pretty pissed off. But as it dissipates, you'll see the reason for it, because we dove headfirst into the darkness really to reveal the light. In no way are we condoning violence and darkness, and we're trying to reveal the hope for our world.
This is one of the rare film titles that actually uses some punctuation.
Yeah.
Mother with an exclamation point. So if I'm buying a ticket at the box office, how should I actually say what movie I want to see?
Can you give me 2 tickets for Mother?
That's what I was hoping for. This poured out of you in an insanely short period of time, right?
Yeah.
Basically 5 days. It just kind of like...
It's a fever dream.
And it feels like that watching it.
And the film is a fever. It's funny because after the 5 days, we did do normal due diligence, and we tried to rewrite it, and we tried to change it, and we tried to figure out what was making it work. But it was a very delicate model, and as soon as you started to pull on the nightmare logic of it, it kind of crumbled into dust. Kind of like when you're trying to hold on to a dream when you wake up and remember it, and the more you think about it, the more it sort of dissipates.
Yeah.
So that's what was happening, and we couldn't really turn it into a traditional film. And we said, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's see what happens if you take a single emotion, like a singer-songwriter, which was a big influence on me, who can take a song and write an anthem for a generation in a morning. You hear about Paul McCartney dreaming about yesterday and writing it in the morning, and now it'll be remembered till the end of times.
Right.
But I wanted to see if that was possible, because filmmakers, it takes us years to get an emotion out there. And this, I just wanted to see what happens if I just went directly after it.
I'm curious. I mean, we've talked before about the kind of approach to films and the kind of films you're attracted to. I mean, I think it's telling that, your biggest quote-unquote kind of blockbuster was Noah, a film like that, which is not what we call the typical kind of blockbuster filmmaking.
Yeah.
Is your appetite increased or decreased where you're sitting right now to dip your toe into what's being made at the multiplex now in terms of superhero and Star Wars, etc.?
I'm always interested in those films. I love those films. They're exciting. I've been blessed and lucky to have had the opportunity to make films that really no one else wants to make except me.
Yeah.
And that's always been very much, a dream of mine, and a lot of my heroes are guys and gals that make films that only they can make. But I'm very open to making, big films and trying to relate to as big an audience as I can. And sometimes I think Mother is going to relate to a lot of people, in the same way that Black Swan related to a lot of people.
Did you get a chance to see Logan? Just curious.
Yeah, I loved Logan.
What do you think?
And I was very happy that Hugh and James finally got to make the Wolverine they've been talking about wanting to make for a long time.
Nice.
When I talked to Hugh about it years ago, that's where he was leaning towards, and I thought James did an incredible job.
Yeah, they finally got there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as you said, I'm always happy that, no one else can make a Darren Aronofsky film.
Thank
So
you.
you might as well do what you do best, which
Yeah.
is unique and special, and this
Thank
one
you.
certainly is that. Congratulations.
Thank
man.
you very much,
Good to see
Josh.
you,
Good
buddy.
to see you.